What's up, everybody? This is Chris, back again with Crystal and Ty. This is the Pedal Dance Podcast. And today, we got a fun little video for everybody. Crystal, what is it?
That is a good question. What is it?
It's it. So,
It's, of course, we're talking about a clown. Okay, so the topic of this...
I see what you did there.
The real topic of our discussion will be, well, there's a theme, and that revolves around eeveelutions. And we're just going to briefly talk about which type we would like to see get an eeveelution. And of course, I'm going to start things off because I passionately want a flying eeveelution. There's only one mono flying type. It's legendary. Mono flying types would be super unique, and I can just see it as a very diverse eeveelution player in the set. But who else wants to talk about what type of eeveelution they want to see?
Ty, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go?
Well, yeah, I was ready to go next. I was actually fixing to ask you the same thing, but yeah, since you're offering the type I want to see most has been also the one in the most speculation, and that is dragon. But don't get me wrong though. Don't get me wrong. I do want to see every type that's out there become an eeveelution, but I especially want to see dragon because it is one of my favorite types that have not been made into an eeveelution. So with that being said, Chris, what about you?
Yes, best for last. So,
Hey,
hey, how you doing? Okay, so I, just like Ty, and probably Crystal too, somewhat Crystal, would love to see every eeveelution made. But for this generation in particular, I wanted to take it up a notch. I wanted to do something that I don't know if people have brought this up before. And I brought this up to both Ty and Crystal earlier, and I thought it was just a really cool idea. I know it's never going to happen, but for this generation in particular, I just want a dual type eeveelution. I want two dual type eeveelutions, one for shield and one for sword. And I want them both to be steel type. I want that to be their primary typing because, shields, swords, steel, it makes sense. But I want the two secondary typings to counter each other out or balance each other out. So with that being said, one would be steel normal and one would be steel ghost. And the more I thought about that, the more I just want it. It just sounds like a really cool idea. So yeah, there's my picks of what eeveelution I want. Awkward silence.
incredibly awkward.
Oh yeah.
So,
what about the idea of introducing a dual type steel type? Double the steel.
Somehow I just don't see it being dual type eeveelutions like at all, unless they do the speculated armored evolutions. I just don't see it becoming a thing.
Oh, believe me, I know it's not going to become a thing. Just the idea of it is cool.
So I guess without further ado, let's go to our main topic. So we want to talk about each current eeveelution and essentially have a discussion, rank them from worst to best or best to worst, whichever we really feel like going in. And we'll be mainly relying on the facts, numbers, essentially be as objective as possible. So when I was making my personal list, I did make a list with subjective and objective information, but we are trying to create a group list and something that we could agree on. So one thing that we wanted to do is talk about our favorite eeveelutions and our least favorite eeveelutions just to get our biases out of the way. Of course, my favorite eeveelution will have to be Espeon, hands down. Least favorite, probably Flareon. Although I don't dislike Flareon, it just doesn't stand out. But Ty, how about you?
As a matter of fact, mine is actually the same as yours. Eeveelution, being the favorite, is Espeon, simply because it reminds me of my birthstone and so many other things. And then my least favorite is, of course, Flareon, because of how insanely popular it was back in the day. What about you, Chris? Is yours any different from ours? I'm sure it will be.
Oh, very much so. My favorite is Vaporeon. I've always been a Vaporeon fan. Um, it's just adorable, and it's a really good Pokemon. I mean, all of them are really good. Crystal, don't say anything. Um, my least favorite, it was going to be Flareon. No, it's still going to be Flareon. As much as I don't want
Sorry,
to.
Flareon.
Not sorry, Flareon. You deserve it.
And this is why somebody's going to report the video.
But here's the thing: just because they are our favorites and least favorites, we are showing no bias in this list. If Flareon somehow makes it above the other evolutions in the list, that's just proof that we are being unbiased because we all chose it as our least favorites.
Exactly.
So without further ado,
I do.
yes, which evolution should we start for? Should we start with first?
Well, since we've
I
all
think we
talked
should go in
about.
Pokedex.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just think we should go in Pokedex order because that's like the most fair and the least biased, in my opinion.
That's fair enough. Do y'all know which one comes first in the Pokédex? I'm bringing them up right now. Actually, it will be Vaporeon.
Okay, good. Because I was afraid I was going to have to take up my Switch and get on Pokemon Quest to figure that out, since I'm
I'm
using my phone to do this.
yeah, sorry, I'm on Bulbapedia, so it's able to help me out. So, Chris, since Vaporeon's your favorite, do you want to talk about some good points, bad points, etc. with Vaporeon?
I'm sure. Let's see here. Vaporeon, it's a mono water type. Good HP stat, good special attack stat. It's adorable in the games along with the anime. I just gotta
Certainly
say,
not subjective at all.
oh no, I just gotta say this. Well, all of them look cool. There's not a single one that doesn't look cool to me. So no, I'm not being biased. But I just want to bring this up because no other evolution can say this. It disappeared in the anime. It actually pulled a freaking Houdini. It disappeared. So, but
Do I need to tell you why it's not?
Say what?
Do I need to tell you why it's not the best? Or do you want to do that?
Well, what's your points?
Okay, so the reason why I think it's not the best is
Before you start,
yeah.
I'm just saying this. No rambling. Make your
Okay.
points.
Okay, that's fair. Well, okay, I will make my point. I got 2 words for you. Type advantages.
Not every Pokemon battle is going to be determined by type advantage.
I know, but that is kind of a weak point for Vaporeon, if you ask me, because Jolteon would have the type advantage over it as well as Leafeon, and then Jolteon can also defeat Leafeon with a Twin Needle attack.
Okay, and Vaporeon can defeat Leafeon with Ice Beam. So
Well, I wasn't aware of Vaporeon learning Ice Beam, because like I think
yeah,
back in
that
the
was
day,
it has
didn't
a diverse move pool.
well no, I could have sworn it learned like Aurora Beam though, and that was an Ice type move.
It does learn Aurora Beam, but it also does learn Ice Beam.
It can also learn Blizzard by TM.
Yep, Blizzard too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, still, if Leafeon gets more speed than Vaporeon and attacks first, it could still be a potential knockout for Vaporeon on Leafeon's behalf.
It's not gonna knock
But
it out. I can guarantee you that. It will not get knocked out in one hit, even by Jolteon. The only way it'll get knocked out by one hit, if it's a crit.
Or a Z
or if
move.
it's or if it's as rigged as Pokemon Stadium. One hit KOs are quite common in that game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
actually, I do have a question. So, when we're talking about the best evolution, are we doing this in comparison to each other of them, or are we just doing this as a general discussion, like just Pokemon in general?
Well, I mean, at first I just thought we were going to go over like the good and the bad points of each individual Pokemon, and then gradually progress from there. But since we are dragging other evolutions in it, I'm not really sure if that puts an order on it or not.
Yeah.
What about
Well,
you?
you're the one who brought that up, Ty.
Well, yeah, because you were trying to say how awesome Vaporeon was, and I was just trying to expedite you.
What Vaporeon is.
Well, I say we should just stick to the in general and not really compare them all in battle because I don't want Sylveon to win. Oh, sorry. So yeah,
Spoiler.
Vaporeon. I have its stats pulled up. It has very terrible defense. But it has great HP, so it can at least take a physical attack. Um,
Agreed.
its speed, it's not good. It's not bad. Which really puts it in an awkward situation. It cannot be a revenge killer. It can't really go fast, but it cannot be a trick room Pokemon either. It's just you kind of got to rely on it to be bulky.
Right.
And of course, special attack is much higher than physical attack, so it clearly has a distinction. And as mentioned earlier, it can learn water and ice moves. And I'm seeing what else it can learn. It can learn Shadow Ball, Hyper Beam, Swift. Yeah, it doesn't really have too many.
Is Swift even still a move?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at the moves it can learn in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so, my bad. Okay, let me look at this again. Well, of course, Hidden Power, which that's a given for almost any evolution that's special. Yeah, it doesn't really have that why. Oh, it can learn Signal Beam. That's pretty cool.
And dig.
Well, since it's mainly a special attacker, I was just pointing
Yeah.
out the special moves.
Yeah. Yeah, Dig wouldn't really work for it, sadly, because its physical attack isn't that good.
We'll give it an upper hand on the electric attacks. So.
Yeah, but the bad thing is, like I said, its physical attack isn't that good, and plus, it's not going to be stabbed, so it's not going to get that boost either.
Yeah.
At that point, if you want to fight off electric types with Vaporeon, Hidden Power Ground would be your best bet.
Right.
But
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know whose turn it is anyway, but you're saying the Hidden Power has better stats than Dig?
well, I think of course it depends on which generation, but I think Dig, either they're the same or Dig hits a little bit harder, but Vaporeon's special attack is tremendously higher than the physical attack, so Hidden Power is going to hit much harder than Dig.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And it has 2 abilities. Of course, all Eeveelutions have 1 ability and 1 hidden ability. Vaporeon's Water Absorb and Hydration, which on my scale, I gave the abilities a solid from 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being perfect. I gave it a solid 3 because Water Absorb gives it an immunity, and Hydration can be good in a rain dance battle. But who's going to hit Vaporeon with a water move, anyways?
Yeah, I know, right?
Beginners who don't know.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Crystal says. Like I said, there are weak points. Every evolution does have weak points. Just because it's my favorite doesn't mean it's the best. Like I said, I am not being biased.
Well,
But who
it's like,
comes? Say what?
oh, sorry.
What were you saying, Ty?
I was saying you had asked me earlier not to ramble, but yet I just kind of felt like you were doing that with Vaporeon. That was the only reason I felt the need to interrupt you in the first place.
Oh no. She was Crystal was asking me points about Vaporeon since it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
Anyway.
can ramble on about our favorites.
Yeah.
But anyway, enough about Vaporeon. Who's next?
That will be Jolteon.
Jolteon.
Okay.
Okay, so Jolteon has, of course, Mono Electric type, which defensive is pretty good. It's only weak to ground. Offensive, meh. It can hurt water and flying, but that's just about it. Abilities, 2 of them, Volt Absorb and Quick Feet. And its stats, of course, they all have the same stat-based total. Jolteon is a speed demon, with that being its best stat at 130. And it's
Right.
also a special attacker like Vaporeon. Its special defense is decent, but it cannot take a physical attack, and its physical attack is pretty bad as well.
Basically, he's a glass cannon.
Essentially.
Basically.
It's making me think that Dig would do more damage to him than Ancient Power, but it depends on the. Well, I guess it depends on the Pokemon, really.
You mean hidden power?
Well, yeah, that's it. My bad. Sorry. Misspoke. I got distracted.
That's a rock type move.
I know, because my Togekiss knows it in Pokemon Go. Anyway.
And Jolteon looks like he went Super Saiyan, so I like it.
Plus, I also try to use him to take down Mewtwo in Pokemon Stadium. I mean, he knows a Bug-type move, but he's not actually Bug, so he actually stands a chance at Mewtwo's Blizzard in Pokemon Stadium. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, but you got to remember one thing.
I know all games, not just one.
So, Crystal.
Well, I essentially said everything I can about Jolteon. Its move pool's more limited than Vaporeon's. It's good with Thunderbolt, Volt Switch. Volt Switch is really competitively. It's a great move. Of course,
Especially because of how fast Jolteon is, you're basically going to go first regardless.
Yeah, in most cases. And
right.
Thunderbolt, Thunder. I'm pulling up the moves. It can also Shadow Ball. Trying to look for good special attacks on this Pokemon. So yeah, this list is pretty limited. Oh, Signal Beam as well. So Vaporeon has a little bit more move choices than Jolteon, but Jolteon's still pretty decent with that.
Oh, agreed. And by the way, I just want to say this since we're about to be moving on to Flareon. If Flareon can learn Signal Beam, like the other two original evolutions, I'm not going to put Flareon at the bottom of my list anymore. I'm just saying.
Are you a fan of Signal Beam?
No, it's just the fact that a fire type using a bug type move. It amuses me.
Oh, well, prepare to not be amused. Talking about,
Sadness.
yeah, I guess talking about Flareon, I'm looking at its move pool. Cannot learn Signal Beam, but um, uh, to well, one of these is a shocker to me. It can learn Superpower, which being a great physical attacker, that's pretty great. And Iron Tail, that's pretty great. It just somewhat recently learned Flare Blitz, so that's very excellent for Flareon. The stat distribution's a little wonky, to be honest. Of course, its physical attack's great, and then special defense is also great. Special attack is decent, but it has low HP, defense, and speed, which I think that's just an awkward combination of stats. And abilities, let's see, we have Flash Fire and Guts. Yeah, and not really all that great, in my opinion.
It doesn't work for Flareon. It doesn't.
I'm gonna have to agree. Like that's just kind of terrible. I will give the Iron Tail some props though, because like if you were to use a rock type against Flareon, Iron Tail would have a type advantage. So that kind of helps it a little bit. But I mean, just those stats, I'm still cringing.
I'm sure
So.
Crystal as well.
I mean,
yeah, she's looking at it.
Yeah, I kind of wish they would have swapped the special defense stat with the speed stat. That way it could be a glass cannon. That would have worked so much better for Flareon, but what can you do?
Complain to Pokemon about it and watch them not address our complaints.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
we get off, I just wanted to say that before we get off of Generation 1, I did just want to add that Jolteon was, in fact, my favorite before Gen 2. And, like, it was personally also a favorite in my TCG and the Nintendo 64 days as well. So,
And that's one thing I do have to add about Flareon is bringing up TCG, because we're not just covering the games and the anime, we're covering the TCG as well. Flareon is the only evolution period that has ever won a world championship, so that gets props from me.
Oh, yeah, and of course, two side notes about their hidden abilities, Jolteon and Flareon. Jolteon's quick feet, which if you have a status condition, your speed increases by 50%. Well, electric type Pokemon can't really get paralyzed nowadays, so quick feet's not too useful, and Guts increases your physical attack by 50% if you have a status condition, which the most desirable status condition is a burn. Fire types cannot be burned, so Flareon's hidden ability doesn't really work too well with it.
Talk about ironic.
it's like it was teamed up against him.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
But
Stick a fork in him.
say what?
Stick a fork in him, done.
Pretty much. Pretty much. So with that being said, on to Generation 2. And I
Okay,
believe
of course, starting with my favorite, that would be Espeon with the Mono Psychic type. It has Synchronize and Magic Bounce for abilities. Its stat distribution's pretty solid, very similar to Jolteon. Not as fast as Jolteon, but can hit harder than Jolteon in special attack, and special defense is also good. HP and defense are terrible. Espeon can't really use strong physical attacks. It can learn a wide variety of psychic attacks, and can learn Dazzling Gleam to deal with those nasty dark types. And I find it cool that it can learn Morning Sun. Healing moves are really viable, in my opinion.
Oh
And
yes.
of course, I see a Shadow Ball, Grass Knot, everything. Essentially can learn Hidden Power. What else? Oh, Signal Beam. That's always nice.
Chris.
Yeah, but that's one of the bad things about Espeon, though.
Signal
Is
Beam?
the fact- yeah, because a lot of other Pokemon, including other evolutions, excluding Flareon, of course, can learn it, and it is a super effective attack. And it does have more than one weakness.
Wait, are you talking about Espeon or Signal Beam?
Talking about Espeon.
Okay, I thought we were just talking about that move, but Espeon is the strongest special attacker, so that's one thing going for Signal Beam, and that also counters Dark-type Pokemon and other Psychic types. But continue.
And the fact that it's weak against Dark, and it's not weak against Ghost. Yeah, it is weak against Ghost, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes.
it is.
So that also puts a damper on Espeon in my eyes. I mean, because especially, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm not trying to be biased, but especially like against Vaporeon, because it does have such a high special attack, and even Sylveon, who I'm pretty sure has a high special attack as well, and even with physical dark moves and and heck, even I wonder if any of them can actually learn Psy Strike.
Do you mean Psyshock?
Is it Psy Strike?
Yes,
I'm starting to mess up my crystal. Dang it!
it's okay. I think that's happened to all of us so far.
But anyway, yeah, there's just a lot of special moves that the other Pokemon can learn that are really super effective against Espeon. That's the point I was trying to get at, especially like Signal Beam, Shadow Ball, Dark,
okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
That to me is like one of the biggest weaknesses or down points for Espeon. But I have to say though, I love the ability that it has in Magic Bounce.
Oh yeah,
Now,
arguably one of the most competitive abilities out there.
Agreed.
but I must say though, since I know me and Chris here, we do the TCG half. I'm gonna have to ask you about the TCG stance that you have on Espeon as well, because personally, it was one of my favorite cards back in the day. But you typically know more about the TCG world than I do.
Espeon, it did good whenever it came out in GX. Like, it didn't really get a big break until the Espeon GX came, but which was a couple years ago. And it won tournaments, it won like regionals and stuff like that. But as far as like actually making it to nationals or worlds, it really didn't make it up there. So it wasn't bad, but it wasn't on that top tier.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of the Neo Discovery set myself.
I'm actually having to Google up the picture. I don't remember the Espeon from Neo
It's
Discovery.
the one where he's on the he's on the temple. His attack, I think was it Psychics? That's what Spywave. Yeah, Spywave. That's what it was. Spywave. It was Spywave. 3 psychic energies, and I think it did 30 damage. And then I think it also potentially confused the opponent.
Yeah, but the bad thing about that is it's on a coin flip.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Both attacks are on a coin flip because quick attack
Yep.
it does 10 plus, and if heads does 10 extra. It does 20 extra. So But if Tails, you do 10 damage to yourself. I mean, it's not bad, especially in that format in the early days when Neo Discovery, Neo Destiny, and all them came out. But there's a lot of things that bodies it, especially back then.
I'm really hoping I didn't get the set wrong, but you got to keep in mind, though, that was also my first theme deck, with Espeon being the main featured card, and that's why it was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I got you. Usually back then, whenever they made theme decks, a lot of the Pokemon that they put in the theme decks weren't necessarily that good. That's why they put them in the theme decks, because they were easy to get a hold of for younger players to actually play with and new players.
I get that now. That's the downside.
Yeah, it's not bad, but it's one of those things that I would personally back then would never make a deck of.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And the same goes. Well, never mind.
I felt like such a stupid kid looking back at those old theme decks, thinking, hey, wait a second, I just took this deck and mixed it with my brother's deck, and that was my deck back in the day, and it's like now I'm seeing how stupid that was. Anyway. With all that being said, though, are we ready to move on to Umbreon, or was there anything else that we didn't touch base on?
Crystal?
I think we said a lot of great things about Espeon, so I'm pulling up Umbreon as we speak. Okay, so Dark type, somewhat advantageous since it has an immunity. It has the abilities Synchronize and Inner Focus, and scrolling to its stats, because I cannot remember its stats too well. I know it's pretty slow and bulky. Oh, yep, I see slow and bulky. Okay, so it's 3 worst stats. Special attack, and speed. And then everything else is pretty good, so good luck knocking Umbreon out in 1 hit. I remember battling in those like Battle Tower, Battle Mansion type arenas in the Pokemon games post-game, and I would always be so nervous whenever I battled Umbreon. It had a lot of status moves that really shook the table. It could use Confuse Ray, it had Curse, it had Moonlight. It was a monster, to say the least. So even though its attacks are pretty low, it really can make up for it. And it has a wide variety of moves to choose from. But yeah, I guess that's all I can really say about Umbreon.
And its abilities aren't really anything to hit home about.
Did you say its abilities aren't that good?
Yeah, I mean, it has Inner Focus. Okay, so it doesn't flinch. Big whoop.
For slow Pokemon, that's a good ability for it, but yeah, Shield Dust is a better version of Inner Focus, but Inner Focus is good for Umbreon. Not great.
Yeah, I think so too.
Good.
Yeah, because like what I gotta say is the reason I think the Inner Focus really works on Umbreon is because if it is going up against a fighting type, which it's going to be weak to, most fighting type moves typically make the opponent flinch. So if Umbreon's trying to make a quick bounce back whenever it has a lower chance of a type advantage or what have you, then that ability gives it the ability to recover at least to some degree, because that way he's not completely down and out, you know.
Mm-hmm. And honestly,
Plus, I love it. Sorry about that. I was just gonna say I also love Umbreon Shiny because it is blue.
Well, I mean, if we're going on shinies, I mean, I love Espeon shiny. I love it. I love.
Well, I just started thinking, it's like we haven't mentioned it, so it's like I should really just throw that out there since I had that awkward silence.
Well, how about this? Shiny Flareon looks like a big poofy Eevee. Shiny Vaporeon's pink. Shiny Jolteon has a little green tint to it. Shiny Espeon is green. and shiny Umbreon is black and blue.
Yeah, but I thought that Vaporeon was purple when it was shiny. Was that not purple?
It's purple, pink, take your pick.
And the generations have changed colors over time.
Agreed. They really have.
Maybe a little. Yeah. Okay. So, what else would be?
And on the TCG side, Umbreon hasn't done that well. It's I'll just say Espeon's has had more success than Umbreon has in TCG. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I believe it. Anyway.
So I guess the next one to talk about is Leafeon. It shows up next.
Okay.
So yeah, mono grass type, which is I love grass Pokemon, but arguably grass is probably one of the worst types to have as a mono type, since it has
Yes.
I think 4 different weaknesses.
What's the
And
ice, flying, fire, bug?
it has Leaf Guard and Chlorophyll as the abilities. In other words, its abilities are only useful when the sun is shining. And going down to the stats slowly. Okay, so its stats are kind of remind me of Flareon's. They're a bit odd. So it's a physical attacker, which
Makes no sense.
well, based on the design, I can see it, but grass types are typically better as special attackers.
Right.
And its defense is its best stat. Low HP, low special defense, pretty good, decent speed. And its move pool, it has a wide variety of moves, but Leaf Blade is the strongest physical grass move it has, so I think that really hinders it a bit.
Those stats are pretty cringy. Like the stat, she said that the special attack and the HP was really low.
And special defense.
Yeah, that's well, yes, special. Yeah, it's just all of that is just really cringy. So, let's see. I'm trying to think of what I could give Leafeon an advantage point in, because I know there was some TCG with Leafeon as well, and let's see, what else was there? And there's also the fact that the shiny, I can't remember what the shiny looks like off the top of my head.
Shiny
It doesn't look too. It really doesn't look too different.
I think it was like a shade darker or something.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Gengar and Garchomp. It doesn't really change much.
Yeah. So but no, again though, I'm not exactly the TCG expert. I'm just more of a TCG collector. So Chris, I am going to have to turn that aspect of the conversation towards you to get your opinion.
Why not Crystal? She knows more about the TCG than I do.
Oh my gosh.
I was about to say, please tell me you're joking, because she doesn't join us for the TCG podcast. That's an us thing. Anyway.
The TCG for Leafeon is decent. There.
You're being a little too nice. I've never heard of any single decent placing that Leafeon has had from the time it came out in Diamond, Pearl, Platinum in the early sets, and even its GX, it's not even that good.
I will have to say this, though. The one bright side to TCG is every Pokemon typically only has the one weakness. Very rare do you see 2 under the weakness and the resistance. But at least it's more limited than it is in the video games. So.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, I mean, listen to this. This is Leafeon GX's attack. It's Solar Beam. It costs 1 grass and a 2 colorless energy. It only does 110. There's a lot of Pokemon now. This is the newest Leafeon, mind you.
Yeah, that's terrible.
That's horrible now. That's just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And that's the GX attack?
Oh no, that's just its regular attack. The GX attack is for each of your benched basic Pokemon. Search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it in onto that Pokemon. Okay, so you can evolve multiple Pokemon, but you can already do that normally if you have it in your hand already. So that's. I mean,
Okay,
if you want to.
that just sounds like Leafeon's the type of Pokemon that you want to get out quickly, and it'll at least cover you while you're getting the rest of your deck ready. But if you don't pull that thing out first thing, you're pretty much going to get KO'd left and right.
And the fact that Energy Evolution Eevee is going away, which is the only good Eevee, because as soon as you put an energy on it, you can search your deck and evolve it into the Eeveelution that you have that you put the energy on. So if you put a Psychic or Grass energy on it, you immediately evolve it into either Espeon or Leafeon or whatever type of energy you put on it, which Energy Evolution Eevee is going away. So this is going to be bad. So that means no first turn GX. And this pretty much means that Leafeon is more useless now than it was. And it wasn't even good GX attack because you can only use 1 GX attack per game. I wouldn't waste it on an attack like that. That doesn't even do damage.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a pretty terrible card. So yeah, I'm starting to wonder who's worse, Flareon or Leafeon. With that being said,
in TCG, Leafeon easily because Flareon's actually won a world championship.
yeah, I know. That's where I have to officially re-rank it, though, is because of the TCG standpoint. Is because Leafeon literally has like very little going for it in comparison from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's nothing to write home about. Crystal, are you following any of this?
Oh yeah, completely. So just based on discussion, I think it's almost safe to assume Leafeon can be a safe worst evolution so far for us because you're all saying that it's so far the worst in TCG. Well, both of its abilities can only be used if it's bright and sunny. You know, when fire type moves are doubled in power, and its strongest physical grass move is Leaf Blade, and yeah,
When you put it that way.
I personally, based it off the discussion, already have to vote Leafeon as the worst currently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So shall we move on to Glaceon?
No, I didn't even cover the original 3 Eeveelutions when it came to
TCG.
When it came to TCG.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Even though I did try to touch base on that real quickly by mentioning that Jolteon was my favorite in the TCG world. So it was very briefly talked about though.
I mean, I can go back if you're okay with it, or we can just skip it and just start from here.
Well, let's ask Crystal. How necessary do you think it would be in the decision-making process?
Well, let's talk about it at the very end. That way, that can help rank. But would it be alright if we went on to Glaceon and then just came back to Jolteon at the end?
Well,
Well,
all
I mean,
three.
we'd be leaving Sylveon out if we backtrack beforehand, unless we cover Sylveon after we backtrack.
Well, I mean, we can go ahead and do Glaceon and Sylveon, and then I can cover the original first 3 after we finish Sylveon, so that'll work.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, so Glaceon, Ice type, which is the worst type defensively, but offensively is pretty great. So its two abilities can only be used during hail, snow cloak, and ice body. Let's see about the stats. So just like Espeon, it shares the highest special attack. It is extremely slow with low physical attack and pretty low to decent HP, but its defense and special defense are pretty solid. So for most of the time, for most of the attacks, you will not be feigning Glaceon in one hit, and it will hit you really hard when it gets a chance to strike. Looking at its move pool, it's pretty limited. Like, you'll only have Glaceon for, like, what, Ice Beam and Signal Beam, and that's it.
Wow.
Ice Shard if you actually want to rely on it, but at this point, it doesn't really have much to pull from.
Well, I could still see it being useful against ground and dragon and flying and grass types. So, I mean, there's that. Wait, does Bug have an ice weakness? Because
It
I
does
think
not.
it doesn't. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. It's like I feel like it should, but I've never seen a super effective on those types. But yeah, always so weird to me. Anyway, but that's kind of my takeaway on its type advantages as well. And you already said it packs a decent punch. It can take a hit. So which one of the stats were the lowest of it again? I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Well, I think the speed was the no. Its physical attack was the worst. Speed and HP were next. 60 and 65 respectively.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too terrible at all for the stats. I mean, yeah, I do prefer a higher HP and a higher speed, but I mean, you got held items that you can do for that. Like if it had a quick claw, that would help tremendously. So, um, what about you, Chris? What have you got to add?
Um, I don't know what I really can add unless you want me to go ahead and go to the TCG side because you pretty much said
Okay.
everything when it comes to the games.
All right. Well, you can go ahead and cover TCG. I think we're ready for that.
Crystal, are you ready?
Hold on, I'm getting my pillow ready.
You gotta learn.
Okay, well, when it comes to Glaceon, Glaceon has had some really good cards over the years. Two in particular. One was I don't remember which set it was. Plasma Freeze, I want to say, but it had the ability Freeze Zone, which the retreat cost of all your Team Plasma Pokemon were two colorless energy less, which was a big deal at the time. I mean, today it'd still be a big deal. You get two off of your retreat cost, that's insane. Which, when you retreat Crystal, you have to discard energy. However much its retreat cost is, you have to discard that many energy to retreat, or else you can't retreat it. And its attack, though yes, it was a little pricey. One water, two colorless energy for 60 damage, but you don't have to flip. It's automatic. The defending Pokemon's already asleep. It's not a flip, which was great. And the other one, which I think was the even better card, was was Glaceon GX, which its ability basically cut off all other Pokemon's abilities. So its ability Freezing Gaze made it to where its ability could be the only one in use. And its GX attack was for one water to colorless. This attack does 50 damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. That stacks up really fast. So let's say they have 40 damage or 4 damage counters. That's doing 200 damage. That's ridiculous. and it won a lot of tournaments, especially over in Japan. So yeah, it was a pretty good card. It had some decent cards over the years.
Okay. That's a new standpoint. But so it stands better than Espeon on the TCG.
Yes, it was better than Espeon.
Okay. Okay, because I'm still trying to figure out how exactly we're ranking the TCG. So yeah. I guess we'll figure that out more so whenever we enter Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon back in the picture. But unless I miss my guess, Sylveon's the next topic.
Yes.
So I
Alright.
have Sylveon picked up, and of course it's the fairy type, which is a really great type competitively. Um, it has a really crap ability, cute charm, and pixelate, which there are pros and cons with that. You sacrifice normal type moves, but at the same time you have more variety, access to Hyper Beam and Hyper Voice, for instance, and Swift, if that matters to anyone. Okay, and at the stats, it is incredibly slow, bad physical attack and defense. However, it can really take hits. HP is 95, has 130 in a special defense, and its special attack's also pretty high at 110. So it's supposed to be more of a bulky attacker, sorry, special attacker, and it has a decent variety of moves. Moonblast, it can use Psy Shock, it has a wide variety of status moves. Um, it has Draining Kiss. I love moves that cause damage and you heal. Um, Let me see if it can learn Signal Beam like everything else but Flareon. Nope, like Flareon. It cannot Signal Beam.
Hey, Flareon no longer alone.
But it can Shadow Ball. Yeah, so its move pool is decent. I'll turn this over to you, Ty.
All right. Well, I know it's shiny is blue. I personally, I like the blue coloring on the shiny, but a shiny Sylveon is probably the only Sylveon I really want in my party. Not to be too awful prejudiced, but I know there are a lot of people out there who do prefer pink. So I will give it that standpoint. And I know it has some. I know it has some GX cards and some pretty tremendous cards, but I don't really know where they stand on the competitive side of things, though. Chris.
When it comes to Sylveon, whenever it first came out in the X and Y sets, it didn't really have any good cards. It didn't really have any good cards until it came out in the Sun and Moon set of Sylveon GX. This was the first time that Sylveon actually had a playable card. And all of these GXs, okay, well, most of the GXs, Eeveelution GXs really benefited because of the Energy Evolution Eevee. Like when I told you earlier, just put an energy down and whatever type that energy is, you can evolve it into that Pokemon right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
And Sylveon GX had some amazing attacks. For one fairy energy, search your deck for up to 3 cards and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. 3 cards, any cards that you want, just for 1 energy. That's ridiculous. And its GX attack, fairy and 2 colorless. Put 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon and all cards attached to those Pokemon back into your opponent's hand. And let's just say if that happens and next turn they don't put anything, well, they wouldn't not put anything down, but I'm just saying, let's say they're stupid and not put anything down, and the only thing that's there is they're active and you knock it out, that's an automatic win. And especially if it's something that they really have to build back up, let's say they have to have a lot of energy cards attached to it, whenever you make them pick the cards back up, you have to put it down and then attach energy back to it one energy at a time per turn. and that's going to take it a long time to build back up. So it's really good for disrupting your opponent. So that was the first really good card that Sylveon had. And right now, a new one just came out, it's a Tag Team GX, which is Gardevoir and Sylveon Tag Team GX. And this one is really, really good as well.
Is that Team Up or Unbroken Bonds?
This is Unbroken Bonds. So this just came out.
Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, for one energy of any type, search your deck for up to 2 basic fairy energy and attach them to your benched Pokemon in any way you like. That's such a good attack, just for 1 energy. It doesn't do damage, but that's still fine. You're still doing energy acceleration. That is great. Fairy Colorless, Kaleidostorm. 150. Move any number of energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon. So you can distribute, not only bring it out, but distribute. That's awesome. Miracle Strike GX. 3 fairy energy plus, and it does 200. If this Pokemon has at least 3 extra fairy energy attached to it, so 6 in total, your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck. You are basically making them start all over with just they're starting their next turn with no cards in their hand.
That's hilarious.
That's amazing. That's going to piss a lot of people off. And it already has in Japan, and since I know it's going to be seeing a lot of play. So with that being said, Sylveon has had a lot of good, a couple good cards, so it's definitely up there in TCG.
So where would you rank it in between the previous Eeveelution TCGs?
It's not as good as Flareon, but it's above Glaceon. Okay. So it's number 2.
All right. Well, so I think it's time for us to backtrack to the Kanto region evolutions once again on the TCG aspect of things. But I would like to add that I don't typically look into the newer cards until after they come out because I like the element of surprise. So yeah, that's why I had to ask because like I just got a couple of sets of Unbroken Bonds, and I still haven't pulled a tag team card. So
I did pull this card at the pre-release. I did pull Gardevoir Sylveon.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything about a pre-release that was local to me, and I would have gone up there where you live, but that's like an hour and a half away.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So. But, anyway, though, so the Kanto region.
Okay, so Crystal, are you okay with us doing this right quick?
Oh yeah, you're fine.
She's doing something else. Okay. Okay, so Flareon. Okay, Flareon's only had really 1 good card, but this card was one of the main cards in the deck that won the World Championships back in 2006. It's Flareon EX. And this is like going back to the original EXs. Back when EXs only had like 140, 150 HP.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, okay. So its ability, Poke Power as it was back then.
Yeah.
Evolutionary Flame. Once during your turn, when you play Flareon EX from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may choose one of the defending Pokemon. So it could be, any Pokemon. That Pokemon is now burned and confused just by putting it on the bench or in play to evolve. You're already giving them double status.
Okay. And I know you said 2006. I want to also add that I think Diamond and Pearl had just been announced in Japan, but it had yet to really come to the States in 2006. Am I correct on that?
Oof. Good question.
Yeah, it's a little rusty for me because Katrina hit in 2005. So 2006, I was kind of on hold on a lot of things.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ah, I can tell you, Ty. But
All right. Because I remember the copyright year on Pokemon Diamond saying 2007. I think that's how I remember that. So,
but back to Flareon EX.
mhm.
Fire colorless flame screen does 30 damage. Not a big deal. I mean, it's not the best attack, but it's not the worst attack. But during your opponent's next turn, any damage done to Flareon EX by attacks is reduced by 20. So it
Mhm.
prolonged it for a little bit longer. And fire colorless heat tackle. Flareon does 10 damage to itself, then it does 70 to your opponent. So it's nothing too crazy, but that ability is what really, really made its mark in TCG. It was pretty much only used for the Pokepower or ability now. But that was such a good ability that it is what won the World Championships in 2006.
Yeah.
So because it actually won a World Championship, it's just default
One of the
top.
superiors. Yeah. So,
When it comes to
all right.
Vaporeon, it's I hate saying this, it's the second to last worst.
Well, honestly, though, since we were backtracking and you started with Flareon, I thought for sure Jolteon would be next.
Okay, we can go Jolteon.
Yeah, backwards Pokedex order. Because we're backtracking, get it?
Right. But the only
Yeah.
thing is that I can only talk about one Jolteon card, but it's a dang good card. And
Oh,
this
I'm
is
sure.
it's the newest one that came out. It's Jolteon GX. And it didn't come out
Ooh.
in a set. You had to get it from a box.
Oh, okay,
And
so it's a promo.
yes, it is a promo.
Okay. All right.
And its deal is for one energy, it does 30 damage. And this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So, spread damage, which isn't bad. Headbolt. It's a lightning and a colorless. It does 110.
This one came in a tin, didn't it? It
Say
wasn't a
what?
box. There wasn't a box that came out of it. Was it one of the tins?
No.
Is
It
that
was a
it?
box.
No, it was a box. Okay.
It was a box.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe I just haven't been looking.
Yeah, Headbolt. One lightning,
Okay.
one colorless, 110. That's nuts.
Yeah.
And one lightning, one colorless. Swift Run GX. It does 110, and its GX ability. It doesn't take anything next turn, damage or status conditions. It doesn't take anything for that turn. But the thing
Nice.
that set this off is a card called Thunder Mountain Prism, and what that does is the cost of your opponent, the cost of your electric type attacks cost one lightning energy less. So let's say you're playing Jolteon GX. You got Eevee on
Bench.
in the active. No, in the active.
Oh,
You
okay.
go second. The person who goes first cannot attack. The person who's in second can. So if you're going second, you lay down Thunder Mountain Prism, you lay down an electric energy, you automatically evolve it. Turn one into Jolteon GX in one turn. The very first turn, you're doing 110 damage.
Oh, wow.
It's that good.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's seen
that is
so much
nuts.
play.
Because like almost every basic Pokemon that exists typically doesn't have that much in HP. It typically has lower than that, so that's just very impressive. Unless somebody
Right.
just randomly gets lucky and pulled a legendary on their first card. But yeah,
Well, like other GXs and stuff, because you got stuff like I'll
yeah,
just give
yeah.
them I'll just give an example, like Buzzwole GX. Buzzwole has 190 HP, but it's an Ultra
Yeah.
Beast.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, typically if you don't start out, because a lot of people now don't really run GXs anymore because of the fact that they give up 2 prize cards when defeated. Okay,
yeah.
tag teams give up 3 prize cards, but
Oh
a
wow.
lot of people
Okay,
are
I hadn't played with one. Sweet.
yeah, but a lot of people are just doing normal cards now just because of the fact that they want to keep prize cards, which I
Uh-huh.
completely understand. And just for that reason, that first turn round, just if you go second, first turn, you could potentially be doing 110 damage, and it's that good.
I don't know how
So,
you can remember all these attacks and the numbers. It's just so completely random to me. Anyway,
but
though,
off on to Vaporeon, which I can't say anything because it hasn't had a good card. It's not like Leafeon bad.
yeah.
I mean, some of the cards are, they're okay,
Uh-huh.
but nothing to write home about. At least Vaporeon has that going for it. There's nothing good about Leafeon, and I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah. And then,
But
of course, I would say we could probably judge it by the artwork too, but that's in the eye of the beholder.
right.
Yeah.
So, Crystal.
I'm
Oh no,
alive.
there it is. Okay. I got worried.
So, how are we gonna do this? Crystal? You and Ty want to rank them based on like the games, and Ty and I can rank them based on
PCG.
TCG, and then we can just combine it from there.
Well, I think we can just start off by easily establishing the weakest link of them all.
Fair enough. Leafeon's at the bottom.
Okay, I'll document that number down. Which card did you all say was the strongest evolution?
Flareon.
Definitely Flareon.
Ooh, that contradicts what it's like in the game, so...
Oh yeah,
I know,
it's like a
right?
contradiction.
Okay, so let me document both of these numbers down, so... Would y'all say Flareon would be the second worst outside of the TCG?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Just those 4 weaknesses just ruin Leafeon.
Yes.
Its weaknesses, its abilities, a whole lot, but that saddens me. But okay. So after Flareon, what was the second best TCG evolution?
I think you said Glaceon. Oh,
Sylveon.
still, yeah, Sylveon. Yeah, that's right, Sylveon.
Sylveon? Okay, so Sylveon I'll give a 2, and... Okay, actually, right now, just give me your all's TCG order. 1's Flareon, 2 Sylveon, 3 is...
Glaceon, was it?
Yes, 3's Glaceon.
Okay, 4 is...
4 is Jolteon.
Okay.
5.
I just drew a blank. Who did I say is number 4?
4 is Jolteon, so 5 will either be Vaporeon, Umbreon, or Espeon.
Espeon.
There we go.
Okay.
And then Umbreon, and then Vaporeon.
And then, of course, Leafeon's 8. Okay, I have these numbers down. Okay, so we already established the weakest link when it comes to outside the TCG. And we also established the second weakest one. Let's go ahead and establish the best evolution outside the TCG. Let's just do it by a vote. I think we can do a 2/3 majority on this if you all wanted to. Or just discussion. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Umbreon, I think Umbreon might be the best outside the TCG.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's fair.
Yeah, because of the defense and the shiny and just like the type of energy that it also has over the Espeon
And
as well, for that matter.
wide move pool.
And its abilities can be fitting for it.
Yeah.
Oh
and,
yeah, definitely.
And Umbreon's one of the few evolutions where its move pool, I can't even predict it when I'm battling it.
Oh yeah. It's got some huge diversity there.
Yep. Okay, so the second best evolution. Let's see this list. Ugh. It could go several different ways. Ty, who do you think is the second best evolution?
Something tells me it's going to be a toss up between between Espeon and Sylveon.
Dang it, I was hoping you wouldn't say that because that's my toss up right now.
And that's my toss up.
Oh my gosh, we're all in agreement.
Okay, let me look at the data that I have on my Excel file. Okay, so typing, Sylveon has the better typing. Stats, Espeon has the better stat distribution. Barely. Move pool. Hold on, let me scroll this Excel file. Okay, so abilities, Espeon blows Sylveon out of the park. Move pool. They're about nearly even about move pool. So yeah.
It's just one of those things that can just go either way.
Well, I mean, you just said that Espeon had better stats. I think that alone could probably give it the victory over Sylveon.
And Espeon would be the best Psy-Shock user, being psychic and high special attack. So,
Yeah, put Espeon and then Sylveon.
Okay, for outside. Okay, so for outside the TCG, we have Glaceon, Vaporeon, and Jolteon left. I want to go ahead and say I want to mark Glaceon as 6th, Leafeon, Flareon, and Glaceon, just because Ice doesn't resist anything but ice. Glaceon's pretty slow, and its abilities are only reliant on hail. And its move pool is very limited.
So, give me that order one more time.
So the worst one we have outside the TCG is Leafeon, and then 7th is Flareon. So we're deciding a 6th. And the only ones we have not ranked yet are Jolteon, Vaporeon, and Glaceon.
I think it'd be
okay.
Glaceon.
Because I'm trying to think. Fighting can beat ice. Steel can beat ice.
Fire can beat ice.
Yeah, fire.
Rock can beat ice.
Yeah, which is I thought that was really weird when I first realized that. That was so weird to me. So, because like ice pretty much has a lot of weaknesses too. So.
Yeah, I'd say Glaceon to be 6th.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we are left with Vaporeon and Jolteon. So we'll rank one of them as 5 and one of them as 4. Outside the TCG, who do y'all think is better, Jolteon or Vaporeon in general, not against each other?
I was already gonna say type advantage. Well, Jolteon does have the better stats though because it has the speed.
But it's not as tanky.
It's
Ugh.
not as what?
It's not as tanky. It can't take hits like Vaporeon can.
Oh yeah, that's true too. But
And
it
it
does
does have
attack.
a longer move pool.
Okay, so just
But
looking. Oh, sorry.
but Jolteon does have the better ability.
Well, I think that could be arguable because I think there. Actually, let me just pull up my notes. Okay, so type wise, Vaporeon's type is better than Jolteon since you can do a little bit more with water, and ground is completely immune to electric attacks. Stat
Yeah,
distribution.
less weaknesses.
Stat distribution. Jolteon's a little bit higher than Vaporeon on the competitive distribution. Abilities. Truthfully, the abilities kind of blow for both of them, but
Right.
um, water absorb, volt absorb, they're essentially the same ability for them. So looking at hidden abilities, Jolteon's quick feet is a little bit handicapped since Jolteon cannot get paralyzed. And
Yeah, true.
hydration for Vaporeon is only useful in the water, but when you're actually in the water, it can be useful. Move pool. Vaporeon has a more diverse set of moves it can pull from. So I'm leaning towards ranking Vaporeon a little bit higher.
Hmm. What about you, Chris? Are you in agreement?
Uh, if I say yes, you're gonna say I'm being biased.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, Vaporeon is blue. Blue is my favorite color, and the shiny Vaporeon is purple. So, I mean, when you give it that, I mean, I do kind of got to side with Crystal.
Agreed.
Uh, so I think we're in agreement. Uh,
That Vaporeon's better than Jolteon.
yeah.
Okay, at least outside of the TCG. Okay, so
Oh,
I
oh, you just had to hit me below the belt, didn't you?
I was just stating okay. So obviously the only one with overlapping numbers is Leafeon, so Leafeon is officially the worst Eeveelution deemed by us. No arguments, I'm guessing?
No arguments whatsoever.
I got nothing.
Okay, so the only one Pokemon that stands out to me with impressive numbers as an average would be Sylveon. Would you all want to deem Sylveon as the best Eeveelution?
I honestly thought
Well,
that's what it would end up being anyway.
well, when you combine it with the out of TCG and in TCG, it does ultimately rank the best because like they don't cancel each other out like the others. But so yeah, I guess that is gonna have to be the way it worked out.
Okay, so Sylveon's the best, Leafeon's the worst. Okay, so looking at these numbers, I could run calculations or we could discuss them. What do you all prefer?
Let's discuss. That's what this channel's about.
Okay.
Okay, so Flareon's really the most interesting one. It completely sucks outside of TCG, but apparently it rocks tremendously in TCG, so...
Well, the thing is, it rocked. The thing is, this was a long time ago. This was 13 years ago. The only good card that has happened since then is the one that came out alongside Jolteon and Vaporeon GX, which was sometime last year. And it's not even a main, it's more of a support Pokemon. So, I mean, I don't know if that handicaps it a little bit, but like I said, it does give it a little bit of an edge in TCG just because it did win a world championship. But like I said, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah, that is pretty dated. So, how would you say Flareon is nowadays? Still the
Nowadays,
best out of them?
I'd probably put it under Glaceon, but before Espeon.
Okay, but still pretty solid. Okay.
Yeah, still pretty solid.
Looking at these numbers, you probably won't like to hear this, Chris, but Vaporeon might be the second worst just based on the numbers that we have.
Oh,
Is
wow.
this something we want to discuss? Because we have Vaporeon as the seventh worst outside of TCG and seventh worst in TCG and fourth. Well, seventh in order and fourth in order for outside the TCG. Yeah.
And it comes the next is worse.
Wait, what?
You said it's the one above Leafeon.
Based on just looking at the numbers that we're talking about, then according to the numbers, it would be the next one above Leafeon. Is that something you all want to discuss?
I'm trying to figure out how it got there.
Same here.
Like, I didn't realize TCG would drag it down so much.
But that's just part of it, so I say I'm all for it.
Aww.
This is what we were doing.
That's quite a jump.
That's just how it goes sometimes, especially when you add two totally different things in the video games and the trading card games. So
Then again, this is just a ranking out of 8. So I mean, like that at least gives a.
And this is just our list.
Yeah, it just makes it sound a little bit better when you realize that there's only 8 that are even in that are being compared right now. So that makes it sound a little better.
And all or most evolutions are pretty good anyway, so it's not like I'm comparing them to the worst Pokemon in existence.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Leafeon is 8, Vaporeon is 7.
Still stings a little, but
yeah. I'm gonna have to actually run some calculations for the others.
Break out the math skills.
Okay, so
for all 2 people who watch this channel, it is really late here, and we are tired. And this is why we are like this.
Okay, so Flareon's average between the two will be 4. Jolteon's average is a 4.5. Okay, Umbreon 6 plus 1.
Numbers, because we care.
Yeah, you all can talk while I'm crunching in numbers, so that way we don't have too much dead air.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what I could say without potentially throwing off the calculations.
Huh, now this is interesting.
Oh?
I'm not completely done with the calculations, but I ran into something that's definitely worth discussing.
What might that be?
2 somethings to be exact. Okay, so I ran the calculations, and so the next best would be... Sorry, we're going from least to best, so yeah, let's work our way up. Other than we know Sylveon's the best. Okay, so Vaporeon's number 7. We're determining who's number 6. Okay, based on the numbers, it would be a tie between Jolteon and Glaceon.
Oh, wow.
So we get to debate those, and honestly, even though I love Glaceon, I think Glaceon should get the number 6.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that.
The one thing that kills it for me is that 4 weaknesses.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest reason for me too.
For me, it's just like thinking about making a team of 6 Pokemon. What reason would I have to put Glaceon on my team? Like, it's only literally just good with Ice Beam. And a lot of Pokemon can do that job better, sadly. But, yeah.
Yeah, I would personally choose the Zoomeril as my ice. So.
Okay, so that would make Jolteon number 5.
Okay, so while she's doing that, Ty,
Uh huh.
um, I pulled up. Whoa, I pulled up Vaporeon GX because I wanted you to know what it does, what it did,
Okay.
what it does. Okay, so its ability is hydrating drops, and once during your turn before you attack, because that's the only time you can do abilities, you may heal 30 damage from your active water Pokemon. Okay, it's not the greatest thing ever. It helps a little bit.
Oh yeah, but I mean, like, considering how much damage people can do nowadays in TCG,
That's
that's
little,
not a very significant heal at all.
right?
Because like,
Unless you have like 3 Vaporeon GXs on the bench. And
yeah, because like right now you got a Tapu Lele, and I think his GX move is healing all the Pokemon. Or am I confusing that with another Tapu?
that's bad. I have Tapu Lele GX. I don't even know its GX attack. I don't even use its GX
Oh my
attack.
gosh, I know. I know.
Tapu
It's like
Lele.
I don't have the card in front of me. It's like I hope I'm saying this right. It's like I know somebody's gonna get offended if I don't, but it's like I'm sorry. There's how many cards again, and even
Yeah,
in my collection.
Tapu
So
Cure GX does it heals all damage from 2 of your benched Pokemon.
yeah, and I knew it was heal all damage. I just couldn't remember how many Pokemon.
Yeah. But Vaporeon's main attack is Hydro Pump. It does 40 plus, 3 colorless energy. This attack does 30 more damage times the amount of water energy attached to this Pokemon. Doesn't sound bad, right?
Not at first.
Okay, but now there's a Swampert that does Hydro Pump. It does 80 plus 20 for each extra, and it costs the same amount.
Oh my word!
So that's a
Now it's
non
looking bad.
do its job even better.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of a slap in the face.
Right. And
Yeah.
its GX attack is Cure Shower, which is only cost 1 water energy. Heal all damage from all of your water Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm sorry. I want a GX attack that actually does something.
Yeah, I know, right?
That you're wasting your turn just healing.
Yeah, that's what it's always felt like to me too. Like unless I'm pulling a trainer card that'll heal my Pokemon, you know,
Right.
I would rather not use an attack for that type of thing.
Unless the attack does something and it heals.
Yeah, that's exactly my point.
Because you got stuff like Max Potions, Ace Rolas, Super
Mm-hmm.
Pops. A lot of this stuff is going out of rotation come August 15th. But
Oh gosh.
yeah, they're doing a year early rotation.
I don't really want to think about that rotation because I gotta sort my cards still. But I'm trying to do it by generation of Pokemon now, so I think I'll at least be a little bit better off that way. So yeah. But yeah, like that's just me in a hassle because like being a collector, I gotta sort these cards, and honestly, I should have been doing it my entire life, but I only recently even started. And considering I've been collecting since the Pokemon cards were a thing, that's one insane collection that's just kind of mindlessly assembled.
Right. Crystal, how's the number crunching going?
Flareon.
Okay.
Yep, that answered your question. But Flareon scored the next highest, earning the number 4 spot,
Oh wow.
all because of the TCG.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it would have been last or second to last. But okay, so there's actually a tie for the number 2 and 3 spot, between Espeon and Umbreon. Who else?
Oh jeez. This is a hard one. Oh,
So
boy.
I'm gonna have to fight my bias. I
Yeah.
am leaning towards Umbreon. Um,
Yeah, me too, sadly.
That one's tough.
Well, I mean, like, Umbreon has the type advantage. Umbreon has a blue shiny. It does have a better defensive status, in all fairness. But, like, oh my gosh, I wish we could leave it at a tie, but I think we owe it to our fans and our followers to make
also,
this decision. Oh my gosh. Why?
Okay,
Why did it come to this?
so there it is. There's the list. After Crystal sets it in stone, she will read out the list in its final form.
okay, so the final form from worst to best evolution, as discussed by the Pedal Dance podcast. You will see Leafeon, followed by. My typewriting is so sloppy. Sorry. Leafeon, followed by Vaporeon.
Ouch.
Oh yeah, that's gotta sting a lot.
It does.
Followed by Glaceon, followed by Jolteon, followed by Flareon, followed by Espeon, then Umbreon, and rocking it out with Sylveon.
This ended up a heck of a lot different than I really envisioned it. The only one thing I saw coming was the fact that Sylveon was going to be number 1.
Oh, the only thing I really saw was Leafeon as the last one.
Yeah.
Ty, did you
Honestly,
see?
Leafeon was my next to last in my personal bias. So, yeah. So,
Well, it wasn't too far off.
yeah, I know, right? Like that was actually pretty fitting. And Umbreon actually was one of my it was my second favorite, with Jolteon in third. But this list is just completely different than my personal bias by a long shot.
But like we said, we did do this without bias, and this was just something that we wanted to do for fun. This was a really fun episode. I enjoyed it. Ty, Crystal, did you two enjoy it?
Oh, it's one. It was quite the one podcast. I'll tell you that. I didn't expect it to drag out for so long.
I didn't either. I'm pretty sure Crystal could have done without the TCG part.
Yeah, I feel really bad for dragging that into the whole mess, though. But I got to give you props, Crystal. Thank you for being a trooper and at least allowing us the ability to include that.
Oh, it is completely fine. That's just part of the objective, overall evaluation. It's very interesting how different they would have been without the trading card game ratings, and of course I kept an Excel spreadsheet of this, so I also had subjective ratings, like my subjective opinion of the types, my subjective opinion of the abilities. Oh yeah, and I also included subjective opinions of the designs and a subjective opinion of their Pokédex entries.
Wow, you really got in depth.
Yeah, my order was a whole. Well, not too terribly different. Espeon was first, Umbreon was second, Sylveon was third, Leafeon was last, and everyone else is kind of in the middle, so my order wasn't too terribly off.
No,
That's good.
just a little different in the top three, but I actually just 1 and 3 swapped.
Oh yeah, and Flareon was near the bottom, so Flareon was the largest difference.
Oh yeah, by a long shot. All right, though. So I think we're running a little long. Do you want to try to close out this podcast?
Yes, this is a wrap. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to this episode of Pedal Dance Podcast. If you have any ideas that you would want to see us talk about, bring up, discuss, whatever, debate, anything, feel free to leave those ideas in the comments section. And with that, Crystal, take it away. Oh, wait. Hold up. Ty, what did you say?
I was going to say to be sure to make sure you like and subscribe and all that jazz, but I guess Crystal's going to do that.
Well, you already did it now.
Well, yeah,
Well,
I guess I'll just close it. Like, comment, subscribe, share.
Death threats.
Awesome.
report.
Death threats, report. Sunny and share everything. You can comment. Your all's rankings of the different evolutions, TCG, VCG, NECG.
BGC.
But yeah, this is the Pedal Dance Podcast. Until next time, adios.
Later.
Later.